In this video, I'm going to be talking about my driving habits with this 2019 F-250. I have about 1,500 pounds of cargo, and then the trailer weighs about 3,500 pounds, so definitely could tow with an F-150, but I like having a diesel, and I've used this truck to tow commercially in the past, so just makes sense to stick with the devil that I know. You can probably tell by the mountains, but we are in Colorado, Buena Vista to be exact, and we're going up Cottonwood Pass. I think one of the big things with any vehicle and getting a lot of miles out of it, and something that I've seen time and time again, whether it's talking to Derek, who had the truck that had over 900,000 miles on it, or watching videos on PTT's channel where he's interviewed several gentlemen who've had high mileage trucks, and the common denominator I've seen, apart from just having really good maintenance, is their driving habits. And one of the big things is knowing when to push the truck and when not to, right? I think the big thing I like to think about is there's a difference with like running it hard versus beating on it, right? Like you can run a truck hard and not beat on it. And I think when I think about that, I think about guys that are doing a lot of miles at a consistent RPM, like they're running hard, they're running a lot of miles, the vehicle is on, 12 to 14 plus hours a day, it's getting miles, it's doing work, but then there's people that I think that beat on their trucks, and at least what my observation has been is it's the people that buy their diesel truck or what, it could be any vehicle, and they're doing like city or around town driving, and they're just hard on the thing, hard acceleration, hard braking, jerking the wheel around, they're beating on it, right? And again, I don't have any problem with someone else doing that on their vehicle. This channel's all about longevity and maintenance, and so I'm just telling you, like, that kind of driving behavior, you're not going to get that many miles out of your vehicle because it's just going to wear the components out, like the suspension, the brakes, it's just, and around town driving too, those short distances, even if you are beating on it and getting it up to temperature, it still is causing more engine wear than just doing what I'm doing now, which is, driving maybe 50 miles an hour, but you're going the same exact speed for hours and hours and hours. I think that is the common denominator that I have seen across all of these other high mileage trucks, because really I have 225 on this thing, like it's just broken, it's not high mileage. But the guys that do have high mileage trucks, they are what most people would call babying the truck, but they're just running it a lot, and they're getting it up to operating temperature, they're keeping it there for hours and hours and hours. But one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of those guys is that when they're coming into a hill, they always downshift, especially with the PowerStrokes and really any V8. They don't like to be lugged. And I'll link a video that I found really interesting. It was one that Bill Hewitt posted a while ago about how tuning is killing your PowerStroke, basically talking about how this gentleman was having excessive bearing wear because he was lugging his truck and it was like hammering the bearings, and that amount of pressure with an increased amount of fuel and timing, basically the main bearing just couldn't handle it, and so it started like coming apart, delaminating and whatever. And what Bill was saying, which I think makes a lot of sense, is, these V8s do not want to be lugged. And so if you're going to tune your PowerStroke, you got to know how to drive it correctly, because if you're lugging the thing in a hot tune, it's just going to wear out the engine way faster than you want to. And so between both tuning and then how you drive it is the easiest to control, especially if you, haven't tuned it, you still have a stock truck. Excuse me. And so what I try to do to copy those guys that have, super high mileage is like, I try not to lug the truck. And so especially when it's right now even, it just downshifted into fourth. Realistically, I want it to probably stay, I don't want the torque converter to be locked. I want to be in third or fourth probably this entire climb up here, up Cottonwood Canyon. And so what I do is when I get to the point where I know there's going to be a sustained hill, I just downshift on the selector, which basically removes all the, fifth and sixth and sometimes even fourth, I'll just get rid of them so the thing can't downshift into those gears and it's forced to run higher RPMs. And my rule of thumb is I try to keep the RPMs above 1500, especially when I'm climbing. Like, you see torque converter just locked up. Like, it's trying to lug and it's trying to get good fuel economy, and when you're towing and going up a hill, you really just don't want that. You want revs because it'll keep your EGTs lower, and it'll just, you know, it's not going to put as much stress on the engine. Now, it'd be different maybe if you have a Cummins. You know, inline sixes, from what I've heard, love to be lugged. I've never owned one, so I can't say for sure, but the friends I know that have owned them all are like, yeah, they just love being lugged, and that is not the case with the PowerStrokes. Now, the other thing I like to have as a general rule of thumb for driving any vehicle, but especially like a truck or something, is like, try to drive like your grandma's sitting in the passenger seat holding a hot bowl of soup. Like, that's how you should drive. And I think I saw that online somewhere. It might have been in a forum. Someone was talking about like driving habits, and I was like, that is honestly the greatest way to think about that. Like, you just don't want to be like lurching around, like hard accelerations, hard braking. It just, you know, it's gonna wear shit out a lot faster. And so the smoother you can be, the better. And I mean, ultimately, smooth is fast. That's an old army maxim, but I think especially with vehicles, you know, it's, if you're nice to them, they'll be nice to you. And you know, there's occasions where I really like to get on the throttle, you know, if you're feeling sporty, but realistically 95% of the time you want to drive like there's a bowl of soup in the passenger seat. And I guess the last thing I would note that's super helpful when, you know, you're driving, and this is, it's, you know, it's good for your truck, but also really good for you. It's just kind of like a safety thing. One of my driving habits is to really focus on looking where I want to go. So instead of just, you know, I think so many people, they're either not paying attention or whatever, they're like focused on the road that's like 25, 30 feet right in front of them. When you can, you know, try to look ahead at what's coming. And, you know, if you're driving the speed limit or 5 over or whatever, you know, it's just going to give you way more time to react. There's been several times where I have narrowly avoided being part of an accident because I was looking, you know, right around the corner or right over the crest of the hill. Like, I had my eyes on the part of the road that was kind of well ahead of me that would give me enough time to stop. And so this isn't as much like a driving habits for longevity, but I guess you could say it is because, you know, again, if you're not getting in accidents, your truck is gonna run a lot longer. Thanks for watching this video. Let me know if you like the new format of having the camera up on my head while I'm driving. I'm gonna film a few more like this. Downshifting, keeping your RPMs up, you know, not lugging the truck. I talked about driving like there's a bowl of soup in the passenger seat, and then also looking farther ahead when you drive just so you can see what's coming sooner. But let me know if there's anything I missed. You know, I think babying these trucks while running them hard, it's like that weird dichotomy that you got to kind of find a balance with. Like, they need to have heat, they need to be run. You know, highway miles are the best thing for really any vehicle, but especially for these modern diesels. And so, yeah, let me know what you would add to that list. Appreciate you being here. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time here on PowerStroke Maintenance. Cheers.